Hello, hello, hello. I am Jack, and I am back once again with some best ball on Underdog Fantasy. And of course, it's not just me tonight. Yes, we have our own version of the Manning cast coming to you live from Important Nonsense. So yes, that is right. ImportantNonsense.com has its own Manning cast coming to you live, starring at Javanaugh87, Jack Kavanaugh, myself, the man who does know best, and Mike Manning, my favorite of the Manning brothers. Mike,
I'll
how's it
try
going
to I'll
tonight?
try to see if I don't get us in trouble by flipping off the camera like some other Mannings happen to do.
I mean, if you want to, hey, no worries. I'm not going to be upset about it. YouTube probably won't like it, but I don't care what YouTube thinks. I'm the one that knows best, so the only opinion that matters is mine. And so, of course, we are brought to you here by Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code nonsense when you sign up, and you can challenge us here live on stream. And so we'll get right down to it, unless, Mike, you have any pluggables to plug here. But
No, I'm ready for some more best ball. Glad it's back.
all right, we will hop in here real quick. And once it gets locked, loaded, and live, we will get started. Oh, I should definitely plug my internet in because otherwise it's not so stable. All right, and we are waiting for 4 more people. So if anyone in the audience would like to join, would like to compete, see if they know better than Jack, and see if they know better than Mike, then hop on in to Best Ball Resurrection on Underdog Fantasy.
I mean, this is probably their best chance to play against a Manning.
You don't think that that Peyton Manning and Eli, you don't think they're using this? You don't think Arch Manning is using Underdog Fantasy?
Arch, I mean, of all of them, yeah, he's probably the best chance.
Actually,
he might get in trouble though. Who knows?
Yeah, he's probably not legally allowed to gamble yet, is he? What's the gambling age over there in America?
18.
18. Yeah, I don't think he's 18 yet. And so we are waiting for one more person. And for those of you playing at home, the Wheel of WoW is back. And so for those of you who don't know, we will spin the wheel. It will tell us what position that we are drafting. And so, for example, here, it would be a wide receiver. And yeah, that is the Wheel of WoW. It creates a little bit of awkwardness, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of torture.
A little bit of a benefit for everybody else in the group.
Exactly. So if you get to pick whoever you want, I guess it depends on what position. Who's your 101 right now? If you could pick 101 and take any player you want, who would it be?
I feel like you have to go with Derrick Henry. I mean, he's just been on such a tear, and they're showing that there's no chance they're going to use him less as the season goes on. I mean, he has more receptions than I thought he was going to have for probably over half the season, and we're just a couple games in.
Yeah, he's really come on strong as a pass catcher, something we never thought would happen, something he really has not shown throughout his career. But when Jeremy McNichol, well, that is good news. We are starting with a flex in round 1, getting a little flexy. But yeah, like Darrington Evans is out. Jeremy McNichols is the backup. He had 8 targets last week with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones out. Speaking of, are you worried about A.J. Brown at this point?
I think it's more health-wise than it is ability at this point. I mean, if he can't seem to stay on the field, that's obviously going to be a concern. But I think once he gets back and actually lets himself get healthy, I think that he'll bounce back. And if possible, in like redrafts and stuff, he'd be a pretty good buy low because he probably wouldn't cost a whole lot at this point.
Yeah, that's I completely agree with everything you said there. He is just too talented to be down for long.
I trust him rest of season more than I do Julio.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, he's got that young 24, 25-year-old hamstring to come back from. Julio is a 31, 32-year-old coming back from a hamstring. So these situations are not equal. Derrick Henry off the board first, like you said. Where would you take Christian McCaffrey here? How much do we trust him? Because yes, we do have multiple weeks. He might play this weekend, but where do we draft CMC? He's gone third overall here. Would you take a Travis Kelce ahead of him? Would you take a Dalvin Cook ahead of him?
I mean, it's not like Cook hasn't had his own injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
Even just his game back was a mild one at best. So I would say that there's no. I mean, I guess I'd be okay with taking him because of his higher upside. And I mean, I think Kelce would have been the only other possible one there.
Yeah, I think I would go with Kelce over CMC just to get the positional advantage. But I also think you're right. Like, I'm not taking Austin Eckler ahead of CMC as much as I would like to. Alvin Kamara has not got. Oh, speaking of, you are on the clock.
I know.
Oh, you.
This wasn't a Rashad Bateman type trying to take a boss's favorite player, but I mean, he's got such high upside with how that offense has been looking.
Yeah, he really does. He really, really does. And I don't trust Alvin Kamara because he has not got the passing game workload. It's Zeke or it's Saquon here for me. And I should go with Zeke. He's in the better offense, but it's too late. Yeah, Saquon Barkley. Good news is he is back in full. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, there's no more limitations on him. The offensive line looks a lot better than I definitely thought it was going to, and Daniel Jones is not ruining Barkley's chances. He's not turning the ball over anywhere near as much as he has the rest of the career.
And the funny thing is, too, like Andrew Thomas, he had a rough start to his career at left tackle. Oh, shoot. I got to spin the wheel. This is why I'm bad at multitasking. We don't have help.
Like, we don't have the help to be able to remind us.
Yeah, we need Steve back in here. So running back, wide receiver in round 2. And I will be picking right before you. I know who I have my eyes on. I know who my backup eyes are on. Have yours on. I've got a couple. I'm looking at a couple guys here that I like. I will sip on my tea methodically.
This will be the big pick because I know exactly who you want, and I know it's one of the people I want as well.
Yeah, especially now that Darren Waller is off the board. He was my backup. And so we are left with, I do have a guy and a backup guy, and I'm sure it's inverse for the two of us. So it'll all depend on what Freet picks here.
You couldn't tell, but there's one jersey color behind you, and there's one team color behind me.
Oh no, Mike! I'm sorry, buddy.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift is coming to me. Najee Harris goes to Lafrite. I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry, my friend.
Yeah, that's exactly how I figured it was going to go.
Life's not fair, is it?
No, but you live and you learn. There's still some other solid players.
Especially Stephon Diggs. Like the fact that Stephon Diggs is falling to the 205 here now when he was a first-round draft pick throughout the entire offseason. Like that feels like a little bit of a cheat code, does it not?
Well, he's been the king of consistency, but this year he hasn't hit those monster games yet. And I want to emphasize on the yet because even Josh Allen hasn't played phenomenally yet. He's had one great game, and it was more great for him than it was for the rest of his pass catchers. I mean, I know Sanders had that one huge game, but Stephon Diggs has had like 10 points, double-digit points in something like ever since at least coming to Buffalo, but also going all the way back to Minnesota, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and like even last week, he had over 100 yards, and just because he didn't score the touchdown, like the touchdowns are coming. The Bills don't take their foot off the gas even when they're up 35-0 on the Dolphins. Like at some point, Stephon Diggs has to be the one scoring the touchdowns there.
They've shown no lack of chemistry. It's not like they lost their chemistry they've had the past couple years.
And up next will be running back / wide receiver. Boy, we are getting lucky early. I am happy with this. We can. Patrick Mahomes is on the ADP now, but I don't want to take him. Kyler Murray at the end of the 212. Is Kyler Murray your QB1 right now?
I think he has to be. I mean, he's the one that's been put. He's on an MVP tear at this point. He's got the rushing upside that's still going, but his passing. I think the biggest thing is he's doing really well in the passing, but it's being spread out so much among all the pass catchers that it's not like DeAndre Hopkins has had a big game yet. It's hard to tell whether Kirk's going to go off or whether AJ Green, who we thought who has been resurrected from the dead.
What a story that's been too, eh?
Apparently, they know a lot more on how to be able to handle or use 30-something-year-old AJ Green than Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati offense does.
Yeah, and I might have to bite my tongue, take back my insults on Cliff Kingsbury. He's grown as a coach since his first year in the NFL. He is doing more, getting more creative. Cliff Kingsbury, he might have changed my mind. Urban Meyer takes his place as the grifter king of the NFL. But yeah, Cliff Kingsbury, whatever he's doing, it's working better than whatever Zach Taylor's doing in Cincinnati. Even though they're doing pretty well on the season, just you'd expect more. You'd like to see more from Joe Burrow is all I'm saying.
I think their biggest thing is just there's such a pace problem there. They're so slow this year compared to what they were last year.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have Joe Burrow. Just let Joe cook. Like, is Joe Burrow the new Russell Wilson? Even though Russell Wilson is still the new
he's just
Russell
never going to get the chance to be able to let it go. It's possible.
Oh, I sure hope not. I really do. Ooh, Tyler Lockett. Oh, you didn't see my tweet from earlier today, did you?
No, I did not.
Well, let me
Thanks for waiting till I did it, then telling me about it.
Well, let me pick. James Robinson looks good, but I don't know. I think I have to go with one of these receivers. I think I got to go with Amari Cooper here. I can't trust Urban Meyer. Chris Carson's already losing carries to Alex Collins. CEH is impossible to trust. So yeah, Amari Cooper here, still the wide receiver one in Dallas. All right, what was my tweet from earlier? It was about Tyler Lockett. So Tyler Lockett over the last 2 weeks, averaging 27.5 yards per game. You can safely drop Tyler Lockett.
Oh.
It was a total joke. There's a bunch of tweets going around today about dropping Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know about that. I'm not trusting Juju. You can't start him, but I don't know about straight up dropping him. And so it was making more tongue-in-cheek for that. Because Tyler Lockett is an incredible talent, and clearly you believe.
Well, and that's just it. So Tyler Lockett is like the epitome of the best ball wide receiver. Because he almost always either has 25 plus or 5 or less.
And yeah, I'm a big Tyler Lockett fan. He's even been okay. He's getting good target share still. A flex now. Jeez Louise, we are just so fortunate here today. Are there any tight ends of note left? George Kittle still left on the board. What do you think here? What are we looking at?
I was looking at Hawkinson, but that kind of just happened. So
that's too bad.
That was he's the best of the options that are left until Kittle, I believe, is going to pick it up. His usage is up there with a top tier level, just not getting the production yet from the touchdowns and such. And that's been something that throughout his career, he hasn't really had the heavy touchdown game or seasons.
Yeah, he's very much like a Julio Jones in that regard, and he's been a fantasy stud because of it. Maybe with Trey Lance in, he can get some more touchdowns, but at the same time, Trey Lance kind of robs some of that.
Yeah, his rushing could easily take some away, so...
I do think, though, that I've got to go with the wide receiver one, the alpha option in San Francisco, Deebo Samuel. What do you think about that pick? Do you agree?
I think that's a very good pick. Yeah, there's no debate anymore. There was some debate for the first couple weeks, but once at this point, you have to sit there and say, well, yeah, he is by far the wide receiver one and the alpha of the entire offense even.
I'm glad you agree with me because Darrell, I like that pick. I was worried you were gonna laugh at me and take George Kittle. That was why I had you answer before you picked Darrell Henderson.
I see how
I
this
like it.
works.
I
His usage, even with his supposed like his cartilage injury, the first game back, his usage was not a problem at all. He was full steam
Mhm.
ahead, and it's on a powerhouse offense. There's nothing wrong with him the rest of the season at all. I don't see, unless he has some other injury pop up.
And so one thing I've noticed personally is so Sean McVay, he rode Todd Gurley into the ground and he loved having a bell cow while he did. And then he tried to get away with it. Like he drafted Darrell Henderson, put him in a timeshare with Malcolm Brown, and then drafted Cam Akers. All three of them were in a timeshare until the end of last year when Cam Akers took it over. Cam Akers goes down, and Sean McVay goes right back to a bell cow. Like I think he realized that he hates an RB by committee. He just wants to let one guy feast. So when Darrell Henderson goes down, it's Sony Michel. When Darrell Henderson is in, it is Darrell Henderson. And now the rib won't even be an issue going forward, I don't think.
No, it's based on most of the injury doctor Twitter for fantasy and stuff. It seems like that wasn't the scariest of injuries or the biggest chance of reoccurrence. So there could have been a lot worse things to happen.
And so we will be taking wide receiver up next here. There's quite a few talented players that have not been performing up to their standards, including Darrell Henderson's teammate, Robert Woods.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you. Has Van Jefferson passed Robert Woods in the pecking order over in LA?
I don't think it's if you drafted Robert Woods, you're not happy the fact that you even have this as a remote question. Like it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't an immediate. Yeah, no, there's no chance. No, there's thought to be there because he is a phenomenal route runner. There's no doubt about that. And Sean McVay definitely likes him. And it seems that Matthew Stafford does have a pecking order for him for his reads as he's going throughout the process. But I still think that Woods is going to pick it up. I just don't think we're going to have as high of a floor as we thought we were going to coming into the season. Because
Yeah, and
Woods
that
was the floor guy and Cup was the higher upside. You know, there was the debate going on before the season. Well, the the debate ended pretty abruptly.
yeah, it did not last very long. It was fun while it lasted. I'll be the first to admit it. I was in on Robert Woods all off season. I thought Robert Woods was going to be the wide receiver one there. I thought he was going to have a safe floor, and I was wrong. The funniest thing is in a keeper league of mine, Cam Akers goes down. He was supposed to be a keeper of mine. We don't like assign a round value to it. Cam Akers goes down. I think I guess I gotta keep Cooper Cup, and now I look brilliant. So thank you, Cooper Cup. And up next, wide receiver. You are probably going to take someone that I want, aren't you?
I mean, there's possibility there. I could take. I mean, all these are, like you said, talented guys that are just having not great starts.
Other than Brandon Cooks, who is a talented guy,
That's
but with Davis Mills.
yeah. It's. I mean, I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. Like the return is going to possibly be for Tyrod Taylor, but
It can't come soon enough.
yeah, it definitely can't.
Which, Cortland Sutton. Well, that was one of the two guys I had in mind. And of course, I will be taking Allen Robinson, even though, is he still the alpha in Chicago? Has Darnell Mooney surpassed him already?
I think he's still getting enough target share that he's going to be the number one going forward for at least the time being. But Mooney just was able to torch the number two, number three cornerbacks for Detroit, which a lot of players can do. Amani Oruwariye is actually a solid cornerback for an NFL cornerback. But once you get behind him on the Detroit depth chart, it's undrafted free agent rookies.
So we will be taking another flex here. But yeah, it is not pretty now that Jeff Okuda has gone down with injury. That really hurt the Lions. And now it is Bobby Parker, or no, Bobby Price. And yeah, it is just unfortunate, but not unfortunate that we get some choice here once again. The wheel has just been really good to us today. We get
I
a
know.
flex up here.
This has been the best that I've certainly been a part of.
Question for you, David Montgomery. Where do we draft him now that he's going to be out 5 weeks?
That's a tough one because that's a pretty long time with how much time's left in the season. I mean, that's nearly half of what's left. So if you're going to sit there and lose a player for half of the best ball season, it's like when we were doing it for Michael Thomas in the beginning. We weren't expecting him till halfway through the season. Well, okay, well now this is just the new start of the season, but still it's only going to be halfway, but you'll be able to use them. It's a tough one to be able to. I still think it's a little early to be able to take Montgomery, but I wouldn't completely blame somebody for doing it. Whoa.
Yeah, that he was at ADP. I was a slight reach, but it's either him, like whoever my wide receiver would be, it'd be my wide receiver 4. Why not go with Cordero Patterson, the RB3 in the NFL right now? Because Devontae Smith is available. That's fair enough, Mike. Fair enough, Mike.
I mean, we saw that we've seen the entire season that his targets have been above and beyond the rest of the offense. They're not running the ball in any fashion other than Jalen Hurts running it. So his big games are, we had one, more are coming.
Yeah, especially like just had his first 100-yard game of his career. That's not going to be the last. It's not going to be the last this season. Might not even be the last this month. Or well, I guess that was September. It's October now. Same thing. Close enough.
The rolling month.
The rolling month. Yes, the 4-week average.
Yeah.
All right. With our next pick, we will be taking a super flex so we can finally take a quarterback up here. All righty.
I wonder how far Pitts is going to drop because I don't think many people have confidence in him.
And so this is our updated nice wheel. So we've got the super flex involved as well. So instead of we get 3 options at quarterback, we got three swings at it.
Oh, okay.
So that would be why we're getting so much flex right now. I forgot that Steve had made this a lovely updated Wheel of Wow.
The Wheel of Wow 2.0 that's a little bit less scary.
A little bit kinder, a little bit less torture. And where do we go from here? Rob Gronkowski. Like, there might not be a bigger riser in fantasy than Rob Gronkowski getting drafted in the 7th round now.
I mean, who didn't think that a 31-year-old tight end that was previously retired would come back and have his best year in like even 3 or 4 years prior to him retiring?
And you know what's crazy?
He didn't even have a good end to his career.
No.
There was not much going on there.
No, he really dropped off with the injuries. But you know what's absolutely crazy? He's the same age as Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but he's wearing the robotic arm brace, shoulder brace, knee brace. So it's not exactly giving you confidence as to how, even though he looks good on the field, you just sit there and like if you would have them sit next to each other in the lineup, they look like 2 different players.
Yeah.
By a good margin.
And with Kelce, he's been the epitome of health throughout his career, other than an early career ACL. Since then, he's been totally fine. Can't say the same about Gronk. At any moment, something could go ping, and the back could flare up once again. The elbow could start aching. You don't know, and so it's tough to trust him. And so, speaking of trust, who do you trust here? Who are you aiming for?
It's starting to become tougher decisions very quickly. That's for sure. I think I'm going to. There's 2 people in mind, but I think I'm going to go for my safer option. and just
Oh
go for the MVP.
no. The reigning, defending MVP Aaron Rodgers is exactly who I was going to pick. So
I
thanks
think
for
that the
that.
drop off after him starts to become pretty evident.
Yes, it does. So, all right. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go with Julio. Yes, he's hurt with the hamstring. Yes, he might miss this weekend, but he's still Julio Jones. He's been outperforming AJ Brown. He he was a 5th-round pick throughout the offseason. He's performed well. Why is he going in the 7th round? Is it the injury?
It has to be the injury because he actually looked better during the prior to both of them being injured. He was the only one that actually did have a productive game. I mean, the Tennessee offense overall didn't look good other than Derrick Henry. The O line looked like garbage. The tight ends are non-existent. So you figure that that would mean that they would have to go through the wide receivers, but yet they still didn't seem to do that.
And wide receiver / running back will be our next pick. And it is crazy the drop off at running back here. Like David Montgomery injured, Damian Harris, he's kind of in a timeshare in New England. That Brandon Bolden is now the new James White, which no one saw coming.
I
Elijah,
mean, that's a Belichickian move if I ever saw one.
that's a good word, Belichickian. Elijah Mitchell, like how do you trust him? How do you trust Myles Gaskin? Melvin Gordon's been great, but he's in a timeshare. Yeah, running back just drops off so quickly here. Wide receiver still pretty strong though. I don't like the idea of stacking Debo and Ayuk because they don't do well together. Ayuk hasn't been too good.
Apparently, they don't play well together.
They don't. It's one or the other. They don't share. Debo Samuel is a bad sharer, apparently. So yeah, I think we're gonna go with Laviska Shenault if he falls to us, and he does. Laviska Shenault finally had the breakout game in Jacksonville, and there's all these people. Oh, it only happened because DJ Chark he got hurt. He was a bad pick. Like he's only good because of the injury. Like no, those people are lying to you. That's not what happened. He has had averaging 6.6 targets per game. He gets 7 targets in his last game, the game he breaks out. Like this isn't a new usage pattern. This is just who he is, and he finally performed despite Urban Meyer's incompetence. So
it was going to be interesting once the injury happened to Chark, but you saw immediately Shenault was the beneficiary.
Yeah, exactly. And it definitely he's going to be helped going forward because of it, but his role didn't change in that individual game. He still he just got the yardage this time. He's been getting the targets. Now he's getting the yardage, and it's great. Ooh.
And I think that Trevor Lawrence picking his game up because it was obviously his by far best game of the season.
Elijah Mitchell.
I mean, it's like you said that the running back pool is dwindling, and it was between 2 running backs that I thought it would be worth doing. I think that he has the higher upside, being it seemed like Shanahan doesn't seem to trust, or he just seems to dislike Trey Sermon. One of the two, because we've seen apparently this is the year of his doghouse. We have not seen a single team look like they've put so many players in a proverbial doghouse in the first 5 weeks of the season like this before, ever. I mean, there was high praise for both Trey Sermon and Brandon Ayuk. Like, Ayuk was going to the moon, it seemed like.
And so now it becomes interesting. You don't have to take a quarterback here because we do have one more super flex, but I didn't use my super flex yet, so I have to take a quarterback because you need 2 quarterbacks in best ball.
It's a stronger strategy usually.
Typically, yes, unless you want to just punt on a week. Who can I stack here? I got a couple of interesting stacking options here. This could have turned out a lot worse, especially because Derek Carr was the top quarterback available last time for me because you stole Aaron Rodgers. But
In my defense, you took Swift. Technically, the guy ahead of you took Najee, but
don't blame me for what's his face is
everybody else's competence.
Yeah, don't blame me because other people slighted you. It's not my fault. I can only control what I can control. And one of the things I can't control is having to take a quarterback here. I am backed into a corner.
I mean, you could just continue your hype train from the offseason and pick up that Justin Fields. Looked better last year. Or last week, sorry.
He did.
Do the Allen Robinson stack.
He did. Go all in on the Bears stack.
I mean, I hear they're back.
The Bears are back, baby.
Just most people, they'll hope that they come back next time without Nagy.
Yeah. It's got to happen at some point, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
It's tough to fire a coach a year after spending all that draft capital on getting the franchise quarterback or the hopeful franchise quarterback, but the response this season has been both in the perception of everyone else, like the media and the fan base, and the production on the field has been pretty tough to ignore.
And the good news is, and it's not all his fault. Like, the GM is bad. Ryan Pace has not built up the O-line. They have no cornerback. So it's not his fault that they're losing necessarily, but he's not doing anything to make it better. Like Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator this week calling plays, like that was a tangible difference and it worked. So yes, Matt Nagy should feel like he's on the hot seat right now because he absolutely is. And unless there's a miraculous turnaround and they make the playoffs and make a run, I don't foresee it. Ooh, Rashad Bateman off the board.
It's for you, boss.
Steve will be.
I do think that he will come in, and I know that Hollywood Browns look good, but I think that the talent will just be undeniable once Bateman hits the field.
Well, as my good friend Macho Man Randy Savage likes to say, the cream always rises to the top. And so Rashad Bateman, he is just too talented to deny.
It was between him and Jacoby Myers. I felt safer in the ceiling for him.
And rightfully so. All right. Running back, wide receiver up here. And Jacoby Myers, everyone's complaining that he doesn't have, he has too many yards and no touchdowns. I think it's Devontae Adams.
Really? I mean, he is a great route runner, and he's obviously the favorite there. Even disregarding the tight ends, disregard the running backs, Mac Jones has become a big fan. He's been leading the Jacoby Myers fan club, just not when they get to the red zone. But they've been overall terrible in the red zone.
Yeah, they're... Oh, shoot. So running back, wide receiver. I am on the clock. And I am going to take... I should probably take Justin Fields off the board there. Ooh, boy. I'm going to take Nyheim Hines and hopefully not take another running back for the rest of the draft. Just roll with these four. I think that's the good strategy for this tournament because in tournaments, you're assuming everything hits for you. You're assuming your picks go right. And so, yeah, we're going to go and hopefully not draft another running back. Oh, no, I have to. I have to draft two more. Oh, no. I should have looked at the board. And Philadelphia's Nyheim Hines. Kenny Gainwell.
Basically. He's going to get more usage, and they seem to Sirianni just trusts him in the passing game so much more, and he just doesn't trust his own running game at all. So I could easily see him taking over as a complete 50-50 share with Miles Sanders within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
And the thing too, it could be a timeshare, but Kenny Gainwell's already the receiving back. That's a very valuable role in the NFL. last week he took over as the goal line back, and we've seen it before that he's done well in that situation. So is Miles Sanders just a between the tackles, between the 20s, just kind of a grinder at this point? Is Kenny Gainwell the one getting all the high value touches?
And it's if you even watch, I watched some of the game through Red Zone, and you see any of the touches that Sanders gets are odd ones also. Like they were inside the 10-yard line and they did a wheel just a wheel route to Sanders where he was met behind the line of scrimmage by a cornerback easily and just take him right down.
And so with our next pick, it will be it looks like running back, wide receiver off the board. And so I will absolutely be taking a wide receiver here. I really did not set myself up well in this. No tight ends for me either.
We have a couple of those slots, don't we?
We do. We have 2 flex. Jeez Louise, I keep going back on this. What am I doing? I do believe we have 2 tight end eligible slots with a full flex, because I do have to take my super flex as. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 necessary running backs and then 2 possible tight end slots.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I will be rocking 6 RBs in this draft because I did not think ahead. So wide receiver here for me, and Mike has option. Well, you probably don't either.
No, it's going to more likely be a wide receiver.
Yeah. Take a shot on Cole Beasley. Sterling Shepard looked like the wide receiver one in New York for a bit. AJ Green, he's back. Jarvis Landry, the steady Cleveland Brown. A lot of options for you here, Mike.
None of which are enjoyable, but they're there.
I didn't say they were good options. I just said they're options that exist. There's a difference. Ooh, taking a shot on Cole Beasley.
I think that it was mildly concerning as to how the Giants were playing after Shepard and Slayton went out, because they wanted to make Kadarius Toney a focus. They used Galladay a lot, and he was the target monster, but they made sure they made plays specifically for Kadarius, which might cut into Shepard's a bit. Not that it will a massive load, but I trust more. It's more of going with the Bills' offense will put up more big games for every single player on the team.
Well, and another low underrated story aside from the Kadarius Toney rising in usage is Evan Engram coming back. He and Sterling Shepard really run a lot of the same routes over the middle, those little drags, those little quick out routes. So they'll cut in. Evan Engram's going to hurt him as well as Kadarius Toney. So we may have seen the best from Sterling Shepard that we're going to at any point this season.
And there's some concern about the Dawson Knox usage in Buffalo now, as they're seeming to focus on him a lot. But he has played well, so he does deserve it.
Oh, and he's more of a touchdown threat too. Like he's still only getting 30, 40 yards a week. Cole Beasley, yeah, the touchdowns are nice. He's played pretty well, 6-7 touchdowns a year from him, and that'll come with time. But he makes his living on the short yardage or short area passes and putting up those PPR totals, lots of receptions. And he hasn't had to do that because the Buffalo Bills have been so good this year. But when they do reach some tougher games, when the game script's more even, we could be looking at more Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
Well,
so we are running back this time, right? Or is it another flex? Okay.
Yeah, this is a forced running back with this pick. I'm going to go with Damian Williams. So when David Montgomery was healthy, he still had a role as the pass catching back that Tariq Cohen used to have and might get when he comes back healthy. But Damian Williams is in line for a lot of touches. A.J. Dillon off the board. What can you tell me about him?
It's he's in a. It's the pure injury handcuff type situation, and that's it. I believe because it seems like Aaron Jones is the guy that's being focused on whenever they're in a normal game script and everything. Uh, Dylan comes in every so often, but the biggest time that he came in was this past week. Whenever it was a relatively close game, still like it wasn't blown out for them. It was still a 2 possession game for a while there. And when it gets even more than that, they skip Dylan. They go all the way to Kylan Hill. So like if they get a blowout game script, they don't put Dylan back in there. So Dylan gets the scraps of Aaron Jones, but he won't get those blowout games to like have that late touchdown that is garbage time completely and everything. That seems to go to, if it's going to somebody, it's going to Kylan Hill.
Interesting. And the one positive note though for AJ Dillon is yes, he did split carries with Aaron Jones this past week. It was his best week that he's had this season. Maybe we see more of that going forward. He's never going to be the high passing game usage, but maybe he starts getting more carries as the season goes along. It could happen.
It's possible. I mean, he looks good when he's running. There's no denying that. But yeah. Aaron Jones also looks better.
That's the problem. All right, running back, wide receiver here. And because we still have one more designated running back, I will be taking another wide receiver, which will put me at 7 wide receivers up here, which is very nice. There's some pretty good wide receivers here, if I do say so myself.
That's the thing. That's what I learned quickly for best ball at the beginning of this offseason was the wide receivers, you're happy throughout the entire draft. You will find somebody that you have hope for and belief in going all the way to the final round.
Yeah, like Devontae Parker just went off the board here. He put up 90 yards and a touchdown. So, like, yes, Devontae Parker, yes, I believe he's overrated. He's not consistent, but in best ball, he's already had one of those weeks. He's probably going to have another one as long as Jacoby Brissett's in as the starter.
I trust him more with Brissett than I do if Tua was to return sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Jalen Waddle is going to be getting a lot more once Tua comes back. But what do we make of Tua at this point?
It's so tough because I think it's been overblown as to how poorly he's looked. Has he looked great? No, but I still believe that he's too talented of a player that we saw at Alabama, and this is still really early for him. I mean, he doesn't have that many full games under his belt in the NFL.
And Mike is on the board here. I assume he will be taking a wide receiver instead of a running back, and it better not be the guy that I want. It better be someone else. I'm staring him down and just manifesting that this player will fall to me. Oh, okay. So Terrace Marshall was my backup plan, but I wanted Jamison Crowder.
And that's, yeah, I definitely debated on that. He looked good, and he's been just a target monster whenever he's been in games. And this was the first time that Zach Wilson actually looked at the slot that much, at least well, since he joined and entered the NFL. So I think that he will do well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, coming off of injury, he missed some time with that groin injury. He's finally back, and he finally looked healthy with that touchdown. Terrace Marshall, on the other hand, though, he's got a lot of room for growth because Sam Darnold leads the league in rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's not going to continue. That's not something that's going to play out. And if he's not running those touchdowns in, someone has to be catching them. Am I wrong?
That's usually how it works.
Glad I can logic my way through that. When we get a flex expertise,
here, which we will be doing tight ends.
Yeah, absolutely must do tight ends here between the two of us, and they are not Not very attractive options left.
Not very pretty, but somebody's got to take him.
Max Williams, the star of the Arizona Cardinals passing offense.
Took him long enough to actually start producing something. There was some glimpses even last year where people had debated on, or I think maybe it was 2 years ago, that Max Williams was like, he had random big games. They were only like 2 catches for 30 yards, but it would be like 2 touchdowns also or something. And Kyler it was just people banking on the fact that this offense is a crazy strong offense. So the tight end should have some productive games.
What do I want to do at tight end? Hunter Henry is at the top of the board, but the Patriots have not been scoring touchdowns at all. And at tight end, that's all you really want is a touchdown. But you know who's been seeing targets as of late? It's Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, like, don't get me wrong. Dallas Goedert, he is tight end 1 in Philly. There is no disputing that. But Zach Ertz is getting his now, too. Devontae Smith is the wide receiver 1. Zach Ertz is the wide receiver 3, it looks like. So I think I'm going to have to go with him because I'm looking for upside at this late in the draft at tight end. And who would have thought that 39-year-old Zach Ertz, however old he is now, would be a relative option? I didn't.
No, I mean, nobody even thought he'd be on the roster anymore.
No, and it's not even like he looks good. Like, he looks like old Jason Witten at this point, but he's getting the targets. And ooh, got distracted there with the Pat Freiermuth pick. Baby Gronk? Question mark.
There's no doubt that he's taking over completely for the tight end in Pittsburgh, and for number 1. Now, I know Ben's not exactly looking so hot, but one thing that he does do is once they do get to the red zone, he does like to look for Freiermuth's way. And like you said, touchdowns are king for tight end.
Yeah, the classic tight end stat line: 3 receptions for 30 yards. Whether or not you get a tight end is whether or not you're a top 10 tight end on the week. Wide receiver up next. I think it was Hunter Henry off the board now, too. So we're going to be in a rough position when we get to our tight end 2 here.
Well, we were in a rough position. We got to our tight end 1.
No, and I only 1 quarterback too. Still, this is.
we were all excited that we didn't have to pick a quarterback or a tight end in the beginning, and now we're like, oh crap.
Oh, I was all thrilled about my team, looking at the running backs and the receivers. Like, yeah, I've got 2 top 5 running backs on my team. I've got great receivers, and oh goodness, I have Zach Ertz and Ryan Tannehill as my QB tight end. Had better days. I have had better days. Which wide receiver are we looking at here? Who's up first? Is it me or
I am?
You? It's you.
It looks
okay.
Like. I wasn't going to answer until I figured that out. So there are 2 guys I'm looking at, and both are for very different reasons. Both are rookies. Elijah Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because if Jamison Crowder either gets injured again, or even Elijah looked great, they couldn't seem to connect. But that's also because Wilson wasn't really playing great. So, but Moore showed the talent that he has. There's no doubt about that. But we've also seen how many red zone trips and how many times the Jets' offense has scored. Amon-Ra is just a similar situation, but we've said it since the beginning of the season, since the draft, since all the offseason. The Lions wide receiver group is historically, like, I can't remember in my lifetime a worse talent group than that.
Yeah, Khalif Raymond making plays as of late, which kind of proves your point.
Yeah. He was a punt returner that would occasionally catch a 30-yard bomb from Tannehill when he was in Tennessee.
And now he's the wide receiver 1-2 alongside Quintez Cephas right now. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The thing with him is he's not had great targets, but once or twice a game, Goff has been missing him on a deep shot. Goff
Mm-hmm.
is starting to connect with those. So Elijah Moore still on the board.
There is no doubt that Goff has looked serviceable at times, but yeah, the target share has been odd for the Lions. Whenever somebody's double teaming TJ Hawkinson and say Swift is either blocking or not in the game, it's a crapshoot to say the least.
Yeah, it is. And Goff, I think, has proven that he is not the future of the Lions. He is a good quarterback for the position they're in right now, trying to be competitive and trying to be entertaining while still rebuilding. And they're it. The Lions are in a good position long term.
Did you see that fumble they had?
Yes, I did. It was.
They hit off his chest and then bounced right into a defensive lineman's. He goes up to make a call, and then I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that was a little bit embarrassing.
That was a hashtag Lions moment.
Yeah, that was a paper bag over the head moment there. On another note, Zach Pascal, though, he's been pretty good as of late. He's slot receiver for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz doesn't look good, but that's a whole other story. And our final running back off the board here.
Not like we have too much to worry about who's going to be at running back.
Oh, goodness. Look at the names available here. Peyton Barber, anyone?
Nope.
No.
I think that he had a short-lived 15 minutes of fame because of the injuries to Josh Jacobs and just not trusting Kenyon Drake for their wanting to use Kenyon Drake in that role. I mean, it's just Gruden hitting his head against the wall and being like, all right, let's hope that you can plot it around. And he did way better than I thought he was going to.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that we would have had a Peyton Barber 100-yard game this year.
No. And is there any shot at all that he repeats it?
Except for another injury to Jacobs. But even if that happens, I don't think, because even the offensive line is playing worse and worse by the week. They are not opening up holes at all.
And that is why I am going to take J.J. Taylor in the hopes that he will see an expanded role. Yes, it's Brandon Bolden for now, but J.J. Taylor, he's in his second year, UDFA out of Arizona, gets a lot of comparisons to Dion Lewis, the former jitterbug for the Patriots, who later kept Derrick Henry on the bench in Tennessee, if you remember that. So, yeah, J.J. Taylor, he could be something at some point, and it's Belichick.
And I definitely thought that he looked like the better option for them. If you were just looking at how well he looked in the preseason, the talent he has, but that fumble killed him, and you knew he wasn't going to see the field again, at least that game.
Yeah, maybe he comes back at some point, though. We can keep our fingers crossed for that. Same with Ramondre Stevenson. That fumble killed him in week 1, too.
Mm-hmm.
And with our next pick,
it's down to 2 positions.
Super flex. And so I will be taking a quarterback for sure. For sure. Oh, well. If it isn't my friend, Justin effing Fields.
Yeah, I saw that too.
You pick first. That is quite rude.
Not going to lie, because I do not see anything else I feel remotely confident about. You're out of luck.
Yeah. Yep.
Unless we both end up being out of luck, who knows?
So basically the answer is either you get Justin Fields or someone else does.
Yeah. Or neither of us do.
Okay. Well, good to know.
I'm giving you the chance to be able to prep.
Trevor's gone, so I can't stack him with LaVisca. Jamison Crowder could stack him with Zach Wilson, or I could stack Zach Pascal with Carson Wentz.
Or do beardless Fitzpatrick and take Taylor Heineke for just the fun of it because he's fun to watch.
That's what I was looking at. That was the plan. And
Heineke,
his
I can't believe how many times you saw on Twitter every time there's a Washington game. Just Heineke's just fun to watch. This guy's just fun to watch.
Well, in his first 2 games as the starter in Washington, he started in the playoffs against the Buccaneers, put up over 300 yards passing. In his first game as a starter this year, put up over 300 yards passing. Now he's I believe top 5 in rushing attempts among quarterbacks. Like, this guy, he's got some juice to him. And Heineken, they still haven't given him a sponsorship. Have you heard that story? Heineke is begging Heineken to give him a sponsorship. Bud Light standing in the wings waiting.
Yeah, I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and they talked about how he just had a package at the building, and it was a bunch of Bud Light stuff. Yeah. He was like, "Oh well, I mean,
I don't know. I think show me the money, or in his case, show me the beer."
Yeah.
And if Heineken wants to miss out on this prime opportunity, and the worst part is their logo is a red star. Washington, they're burgundy. That's a shade of red. And Heineke is a star.
I was just gonna say you're picking at straws here, and then you recovered well.
Oh, don't worry. No, I'm all in on Taylor Heineke, even if he is no longer available, because DFS legend, who took him as his 3rd quarterback, DFS legend.
Oh boy,
sir, how dare you? I needed him.
I didn't think that even taking 3 was an option unless you did one of those risky ones like taking Deshaun Watson or something prior to the offseason really getting going.
Or, and I'll admit I did this, when you accidentally don't check the bye weeks and Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott have the same bye week.
Touche. Yeah, that's another it's another option there.
Yeah, that one was embarrassing because
I did just have to look up Aaron Rodgers' bye week before I was like saying about Justin Fields.
Do I go Jared Goff? I think I go Jared Goff and DeAndre Swift at this point in terms. No,
it's a reasonable wide receiver instead, basically.
I got Carson Wentz because I have Hines and I have Pascal, so that's 2 guys that I can stack. two back end guys that I can stack, and it's our last pick. We'll spin it anyways. It's a flex, getting a little flexy up in here, but my final flex has to be a tight end. And Blake Jarwin and Mo Alley Cox go right after. And right
oh boy, before. Even people are still picking tight ends. That's good.
Yeah.
Not like we had a puddle to pick from in the first place.
And that's his 3rd tight end. Like, what are these people doing?
Are you saying that probably don't
tight end? Golfer boy, what is you doing? You have Darren Waller. Why do you need 4 tight ends, sir, ma'am, miss, mister? Like,
short circuit Jack.
That is just rude.
Oh, never mind.
3 tight ends.
I was getting excited because Mo Alley Cox was there, and then whenever I looked up, gone.
If only Mo Alley Cox was still there, because that's who I would take. Like, we've already... CJ Uzoma already had the best game he's ever going to have, but he also... Or do we go with Jawan Johnson and hope he gets an increased workload?
You mean instead of getting 90% of his season-long touchdowns in week 1?
Yeah. So CJ Uzoma, he looked pretty good last year before the Achilles tear. He's back off the Achilles tear, and he looks good again. It's a coincidence? I think not.
It'll be interesting to see how the usage breaks down whenever you see T. Higgins come back.
Yeah, that is one thing to be scared about. But as we were saying earlier, The Bengals used to play fast. Maybe they go back to it. Maybe they let Joe cook a little bit. Chef Joe in the kitchen.
I sure hope so. I have a lot of Burrow shares just in general leagues, and I liked T. Higgins a lot.
Tommy Tremble, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish tight end.
It's slim pickings.
He's tight end 1 now, allegedly.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't see a target. So they trade away Dan Arnold because Tommy Tremble, he's going to be a big part of our option. He comparing him to Jeremy Chin, who was one of the top safeties. Like he dominant for the Panthers last year, played linebacker, safety hybrid type of thing. Compared to him, compared Tremble to Chin, where it's like this guy just as soon as he steps on the field, he's different. They're hyping him up, and then he doesn't get a target. Instead, Ian Thomas gets 3 receptions.
Even though I'm pretty sure that Ian Thomas would fall down with, the 4th step, it seems, every reception.
I think it was 15 yards on those 3 receptions. So you're right.
Yep.
You were absolutely.
You don't really have to worry too much about the yak with him.
Yeah, which is just a shame because Ian Thomas, great athlete, great prospect coming out, not good in real life.
Yeah.
Tommy Tremble, though, he does look good. A little tight end around that the Giants tried to copy, and it didn't work at all.
It was either him or probably Darnold Parham, if I'm being honest.
We do like Parham.
The Chargers seem to use a lot of tight ends. Jared Cook's obviously the number 1 without any question, but Parham's a freak athlete.
XFL MVP Donald Parham too. Like he's 6'8".
Yeah.
Like that is absurd.
I saw somebody on Twitter say about why doesn't everybody just get a 6'8" tight end that is like a freak athlete and stuff like that, like Darren Waller, because it was just after that moss that he just had over the defender. And somebody posted a picture of Zach Gentry, who's a backup tight end for the Steelers, who is 6'8" and not a crazy athlete, but hey, you said 6'8". We got 6'8" here.
Yeah, there is a large difference between a freak athlete like Donald Parham and Zach Gentry, who is just basically an extra offensive tackle. But so we'll go through my team quick. We've got the Titans stack of Ryan Tannehill and Julio Jones. You got the Carson Wentz stack with Hines and Zach Pascal. We got no love at the tight end at all. Our running backs, we drafted too many of them. We took 6 because we did not plan this properly, but they're pretty talented running backs. Saquon and DeAndre Swift, they're both top 5 potential running backs. Both could be the RB1 overall by the end of the season. Nyheim Hines, pass catcher. Damian Williams, pass catcher. J.J. Taylor could be a pass catcher, maybe. Cordero Patterson, best player in football. Looked like it last week anyways. And then this was wide receiver crowd. Like, there's nothing to be upset about here. Like Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Julio Jones, AJ Green, all former Pro Bowlers. Deebo Samuel on his way to his first Pro Bowl. Laviska Shenault, he not on his way to his first Pro Bowl, but he looks good. He looks good.
I mean, not everybody can make the Pro Bowl, even though it seems like that seems to happen almost every year.
Not everyone can make the Pro Bowl unless you're a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You want to break down your team here before we head out?
I mean, quarterbacks are pretty simple there. You got the former MVP, and there was such a huge drop-off that you take the talent over the stack options. I mean, there wasn't any stack options that would be relatively worth it for me, other than if you want to consider Aaron Jones there. But him and Fields are crazy talented. There's not much to worry about there. Aaron Jones, obvious, huge upside. He's shown with a 40-point game already this year. And Darrell Henderson, I'm completely confident in as my number 2 running back. With all this upside on the back end, Elijah Mitchell could easily take over that job as the lead back again. It was his, got the injury, We have to see how this plays out. Can he game well? We've talked about his usage in huge uptick as of recent weeks. My wide receivers, consistency in Diggs, but then I got the huge upside in Lockett. Sutton, I mean, if even if Locke stays out there, he looked at his way, and that was it.
Almost had that garbage time touchdown at the end of the game too.
And then there's a couple, you got to throw in the rookies. I got a lot more rookies than I realized until just looking at it now. But
on offense and on defense, or sorry, not on offense and defense, running back and wide receiver. Running back, you got Mitchell and Gainwell.
Yeah, just go for the upside. That's what best ball's for. These guys are all talented players that were drafted in the first 2 rounds for a reason. And then tight end, we don't even have to. You can just scroll right back up. There's no reason to look at that.
Another 2 rookies at tight end.
Oh, geez, I didn't even realize that.
Are you a dynasty guy or something? Like what? Just going all. This would be a great dynasty team.
Yeah. Let's just figure out how to transfer that over to some dynasty league, and we'll be good to go.
Sometimes you just have to think that, and then there's the opposite direction where you've got all these old guys, and it's like, yeah, I got Julio Jones and
David Johnson, AJ Green.
Yeah, this team would have been good back in 2016. But that's gonna do it from us here at Jack Knows Best and on ImportantNonsense.com. I think it's safe to say that once again, Jack knows best. But before we head out, Mike, do you have any pluggables to plug?
Just be sure to keep an eye out each week on Thursdays that I have a wide receiver cornerback matchup. Target 4 guys to target for their matchups and 4 guys to try to avoid. And if I have them in the avoid column, that doesn't mean to always sit them. I'll sometimes put some studs in there because they'll have poor matchups, like Chris Godwin against somebody like Jalen Ramsey or something like that. Like, those are just temper your expectations. Always play your studs. They're your studs for a reason. So keep an eye on that for every Thursday coming out on Important Nonsense.
Yeah, and it's not always, hey, sit this guy. It's, you might not get your usual production out of him this week. So maybe you shoot for upside somewhere else in your lineup because of it. Or maybe you don't play him in DFS this week because of it. Yeah. Lots of actionable information from Mike Manning, as well as many other talented people over at ImportantNonsense.com. Make sure you join us next week. We will be back. Use promo code NONSENSE when you sign up to face us in Underdog Fantasy and see if you know better than Jack. Until then, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.